splendid examples. We have so many of them sitting on the stage and off the stage. So I think we're missing a lot of knowledge. It's just becoming only stories. And so this initiative is to really kickstart this thought process. So we want to build thought leadership from Chennai, from here, and Great Lakes would like to play a part in this journey. As part of this, we wanted to not give answers but ask a lot of questions, and therefore we wanted to start with this insights dossier which we are trying to launch today. It compiles a lot of information about the importance of family business and family offices in particular, which are a growing phenomenon over the last 10 years. And so as a first, before I get into details of what we have in that dossier, which is in your kits, I'd love to have our guests actually launch it for us formally. So 2000 up to 2000, and then you realize that the ownership is quite large. So which means largely India, even the largest companies, the listed companies, many of them are actually family managed, family controlled, and therefore and as the number of companies increases, the percentage is just so large. So I wouldn't even mind saying that when it comes to all the business in India, probably it's close to 80-90% of India's businesses are all actually family managed or family controlled in a way. Therefore, this is an important phenomenon to look at. But what are these businesses? And I'm a professor, so I hope I'll give you something to take away beyond anecdotes. So I went back and looked at this, 25-year-old paper which actually set this business off in entrepreneurship theory in practice. And they said there has to be a governance component, there has to be control component, and there has to be a family interest. And there is interest to think long term, because there's this whole thing of transferring all of this over generations. So if all of these are elements, therefore you will see that most of the family business literature revolves around this very, very popular 3-circle Venn diagram model. So to kind of manage this, because they thought that family business are difficult to manage because there's a family, there's ownership, there's the business, and so there's a lot of overlap. So this is not surprising, because this model is kind of beaten. It's been around as old as me actually. When I looked up at the paper, I don't want to tell you my age, you can look it up, but it's that old. So I realized that we haven't done anything beyond that in almost half a century. And so with this old model and the growing complexity of businesses, in a recent reconceptualization by professors in Europe, they actually said, family business is not just business. It's actually a bunch of so many things. So you'll see families today have philanthropic efforts, they have museums, they have family offices, they have a lot of non-economic assets. So a huge set of a plethora of things that they're trying to manage, and at the nucleus of all this is the family still trying to do all of this. And there are families now in Europe, some of the families which have like 500 people working in the family. So how do you manage something like this? It has become extremely critical, and therefore a reconceptualization and this whole expansion is, I think, imminent.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a great pleasure to be with you all and share some of my experiences. I think this is a great initiative by Great Lakes, and I'm quite happy to see that Chennai is definitely requires this kind of mentoring and hand-holding family businesses for transition. So, congratulations. So, when I think of family office, I would say that you all know that Professor Raj Shankar has given you an overview of that. I would simplify in such a way that in a layman's language, you can understand family office is a lawyer, very eminent lawyer, eminent CFO, and a grandpa, and finally also a concierge, efficient concierge, all put together is what a family office sum up in terms of output you can expect. So the wisdom from the grandpa, these are all very important things. I think finally the family office, if you look at, there are two kinds of businesses, business family and family businesses. While family businesses focus majority in building the businesses, and mostly the money is still in the working capital and building the business. There is no surplus available. When you have surplus, that's when the family office kicks in. When you don't have surplus, you don't require a family office. Multiplying the wealth created by the business, and that's very important. succession planning, transition, sorting out family feuds, multiple generations, how you handle and carry on is a very important ask. From that angle, family office plays a very, very early role. I salute the organizers because this is what Stephen Covey says in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind. Any business, I may be today 5 crore, 10 crore turnover, but someday everybody wishes I will make it big, and that's quite logical. And the end game is, if you are to look at that, it has to last beyond generations, and that's very important. Not only that, it has to be passed on in a very efficient manner. So from that angle, the wealth has to be multiplied. Succession planning has to be handled very well. All these things are possible only when you have a family business office. And that way, you may be small today, but your end journey, if you have to look at that, I will create a legacy, I'll create a family business office. And that's what I will leave it with you all. There are already some people who have already created family offices. I think that would be very nice, generation of business. And they're already creating wealth and keep investing and multiplying the wealth separately. They have real estates, multiple things. So, in terms of CFO role, you know that where efficiently money can be deployed, legal frameworks of what the lawyer does. The concierge will organize travels, personal work, even a party to be organized, all kind of things the family office handles, all the family members. And that's the role, let's understand. It's not just only financial advice and still you will look for somebody else to do that. Family office is supposed to manage all the personal needs of the family members, including I want a desk of doctor for some medical emergencies or admission in best of college or schools, where to go. All these things the family office is expected to do the homework and advise the owners. So I am going to talk more about grooming the next gen, more on that journey. I think that would be succession planning. All those things would be an important topic. So generally in the succession planning, I think normally in the Hindu hierarchical, the eldermost will get the benefit of leading. But that's changing nowadays. Meritocracy. And that's very, very important. Only when you have a very eminent person, whoever, it doesn't matter. It's not the eldest to lead the business, but the youngest may also lead. But the kind of mental framework that is to be acceptability of junior leading the show is very, very important. It is a capability that provides, because business interest will be protected, because when the business is very healthy, it can take care of the family. So therefore, the business should be in the hands of a very young person within the family.